welcome to another edition of 10 Count. I'm your host, Michael Montero, joined by Mike Baca of UCN Live and Doug Fischer of Ring TV. Guys, last Saturday, Keith Thurman and Shawn Porter put on a very, very entertaining fight at the Barclays Center. And Thurman won a unanimous but close decision, 115-113, in a fight that a lot of fans are saying was the fight of the year. So, Doug, let's get this straight. This was a good fight, but
Yes.
Was this the fight of the year? Was it a candidate? Where do you rate it so far?
It was a good fight. It exceeded some expectations because some people, myself included, were kind of afraid that their styles would not mesh well in the ring. Sometimes Keith Thurman is a drive-by hitter, doesn't plant his feet enough. When he's in against somebody who knows that he knows can take his power, and sometimes Shawn Porter imposes that physical mauling style a little bit too much, grapples a little bit too much on the inside, and just makes for an ugly fight. So we weren't sure how those two styles would play out in the ring, but it played out well in the ring because Thurman planted his feet a lot. There were some really good exchanges from mid-range. There was some good stuff with Thurman's back against the ropes. Both guys brought it. Both guys gave 100%. It was a very entertaining fight. It was an entertaining broadcast. Was it a fight of the year candidate? Yeah, I don't think it's top 5, but it's top 10. I think for a fight to really be that front runner for fight of the year, it's got to be like Francisco Vargas versus Orlando Salido, where it's high level stuff. Both guys are world class. Both guys bring their experience, their physical talent, and their technique to the plate. They give 110%. And it's ebb and flow from start to finish. And it doesn't have the periods, the lulls that Thurman Porter had, where, there were spots during, Thurman Porter where Thurman was on the move and Porter was on the pursuit but couldn't really cut the ring off. And there were times where there were clinches and there was grappling. It wasn't too much. It wasn't enough to make any one round a real stinker round or detract too much from the fight, but it detracted enough from the fight not to make it that fight of the year front runner, at least in my opinion.
Right. Mike, two-part question here. We've had some duds recently with some of these big matchups. Frampton Quigg comes to mind, right? But just sticking with PBC, was this their best big fight to date, the best big matchup they've had? And if they did a rematch, would you welcome that?
Yes, this was the best PBC fight to date, in my opinion. And it's kind of funny that it was a Showtime telecast on PBC, and there's really nothing PBC about it other than the little PBC logo on the bottom of your screen. And I thought it was funny, that I really enjoyed the broadcast because of that. 5 minutes into the broadcast, I was like, maybe this is how PBC should have started this, Just go on NBC, let Showtime do the work, because they've been doing this for 30 years. They know what they're doing.
Right.
As for the fight itself, I had a great time watching it. Labeled it a great fight. Reason being, it's two top 5 welterweights, the best versus the best, conflicting styles, little moments of drama. It wasn't an all-out war. Let's be serious here. But they went after it, and they threw bombs. And I thought referee Steve Willis did a tremendous job refereeing the fight.
He stayed out of it, which is great.
Yeah.
He's becoming one of my favorite refs.
Absolutely. Other than his facial expressions, absolutely.
I like the facial expressions, too.
It's perfect for Twitter and Instagram and all that stuff.
And kind of a testament to Thurman and Porter not landing those bombs is that we didn't get to see those facial expressions from Steve Willis really at all during the fight, but we did get to see a couple moonwalks. Him gliding around the ring. As far as a rematch, I think a rematch should be a priority.
You would want an immediate rematch between Thurman and Porter?
I would think so, because I thought Porter had a very good argument that he won the fight.
How did you score it?
115-113 Thurman.
Okay.
That's how I scored it.
That's how I had it.
On both I watched it the morning after, and I had the same exact score. But given that there were a couple rounds where you could have given it to either guy, and those scores, there's a valid argument that Porter won.
Yeah, I would have been fine with the draw.
I would not argue that.
And the live audience.
The live audience booed it.
They obviously loved Porter.
And I don't understand why they jeered it so much. Just be happy you guys saw a great fight live. I mean, come on.
And it was a close competitive fight that could have went either way. It wasn't a robbery either way. What I found interesting is Porter actually landed more punches, and he won the battle of the jab. He threw more and landed more, and he was able to land the jab from the outside. That's something we haven't seen from him before.
Yeah, it's a surprise for me.
Doug, has he improved technically since that loss to Brook, where you saw him competitive early on, but Brook made adjustments and he couldn't adjust? In this fight, he kept making adjustments.
Yeah, I definitely think Shawn Porter and his father Kenny went back, I mean, immediately after the Kell Brook fight, and studied it and examined it and looked at what they did wrong, what they didn't do. And he didn't have a consistent jab against Kell Brook, who has a great jab. And I think they languished a little bit too much inside. And normally it's Porter who, once he's in range, he's going to grab you because he's got that physical strength edge over most of the guys he fights. And he's going to initiate a clinch and grapple just to wear you down. It didn't work against Brook, and I think he stayed in there. He stayed arm lock a little bit too long against the undefeated British fighter. He initiated some clinches. There was some grappling against Keith Thurman. He didn't overdo it. He did it enough to where he could muscle Thurman back against the ropes, and he had a lot of good moments when Thurman's back was to the ropes. But hats off to both guys. Thurman was hurt to the body. He dealt with it. Thurman was cut. Yeah. It was bleeding for a while. Yeah. Kudos to his cut man, Carlos Vargas, I think. He dealt with it. And Porter was stung a few times. He wasn't really rock bad, to where he was, light on his feet. But I think he's got one of the. He probably has the best chin in the 147-pound division. But he dealt with it. Every time he got stung, he came back. And if he didn't sting Thurman, he tried to.
Mike, real quick, if you could play matchmaker, we touched upon this with a possible rematch, but if you could play matchmaker, what would you do next for each guy? How would you package it?
I would do the rematch, have Danny Garcia on the undercard facing somebody for his WBC title belt, and the winners face each other.
That is how you build fights, people. On behalf of Mike Baca and Doug Fischer, I'm Michael Montero. We'll see you guys next time at 10 Count.